You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here's your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
Well, good Monday morning, everybody. I am Glenn DeGeek in Ocala, Florida.
And I'm Jamie Jennings in Norman, Oklahoma. You're listening to Horses in the Morning on the Horse Radio Network for Monday, July 1st. That's right, Glenn. It's July.
Half the year's gone.
The best month of the year. All we have is like extreme heat, drought, and bugs. Like, it's so
a
fun.
hurricane's coming now, too. So
oh, yeah, you
that.
guys are toast, too. Yay, July 1st. Yay, July. Oh, you know what else happens in July is from now until about the 20th, people shoot fireworks in the sky all day and all night.
It started here last night.
It started here Saturday. I was like, it's not even July yet. Come on. So yay. This is episode 34. Calm I can get all of a sudden. 3465, brought to you today by WERM Flooring. Happy Canada Day.
That's right. It is Canada Day. We have a lot of listeners in Canada, so happy Canada Day to all of you. Song will never be the same.
You can't sing that unless you're singing it operatic.
It's very hard to sing. I thought our national anthem was hard to sing. That's terrible. It's hard to sing that one. But happy Canada Day, everybody. We appreciate our Canadian listeners. And today we have Jess Bowers, author of Horse Show. It's a book called Horse Show. It tells us about a collection of short stories exploring the relationship between humans and horses in an unusual way. Plus, horses...
Is it Horse Show like when I go to a horse show and I'm that girl who's like horses running around crazy and people are scared of me, or is it like
more goes back in history than you?
Oh,
actually,
that sounds way better. That sounds way better than Horse Show Nightmares by Jamie Jennings.
And then also, I did a Horses in History where we learn about an amazing stagecoach driver of the 1800s called One Eyed Charley, and she had a secret that she held until death.
She had one eye.
Plus, no, that wasn't a secret. Plus some equestrian first world problems, and we'll hang around for an Auditor Post Show as well today. So 2 weeks from now, I will be recording from the back of the horse trailer, just like on the road show. It's going to be like a road show times.
It's going to be fun for everybody except for me, who has to listen to you complain before the show.
Because the Well Company still has not come out after 3 weeks. They started 3 weeks ago and stopped and haven't returned. So everything is on hold, and we might be in that horse trailer for months at this rate.
So basically your house is closing whether or not you have another house to go to.
Yeah, next week we move out of this house, and then it closes, and then we live in the horse trailer. Fortunately, the nice part about this, looking at the positive, is at our beautiful boarding facility with just our 2 horses there, they have full hookups for RVs. So, and they said we could stay there as long as we want. So we can live there with the horses at this very nice place while we're waiting. So, I mean, our horse trailer, people think about living quarters horse trailers. They think of the big ones. You saw the size of ours. It is about the tiniest one you can get.
I swear how you and your wife are still married after all these years of shenanigans. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Did you pay the Well Company for what they did already?
No.
Okay, good.
Because I'm thinking that we're going to be getting See, we're not in charge of that. Kind of the contractor is. But I told the contractor, I said, if they don't come out this week, we're hiring a new Well Company, and they ain't getting paid.
Yeah.
Because this is just ridiculous.
Is there just a giant hole in the grass now on the ground?
There's not a giant hole, but there's a pipe. There's a metal pipe about 12 inches across that I'm assuming goes down about 180 feet.
Just make sure there's a cover. We don't want another baby Jessica.
There isn't a cover on it, ironically. I don't know what that means.
I just aged myself, by the way. So if some of you don't know who baby Jessica is, you should look it up.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I know,
That goes back a few years. It's not that big. I don't even think a baby would fit down there. You're fine. We're good.
I'm nightmares now. I'm all tense.
All right, Daily Whinnie time. Well, I have a couple of birthdays of auditors, and that's Margaret Dwyer and Aaron Rogers. Happy birthday to both of you. We hope you have a terrific day.
she's going to be surprised to hear this, but my daily Whinnie goes out to our listener, Tara Tibbetts. That's right, Tara. Tara has
Texas
now
Tara?
made Texas Tara. Tara has now inadvertently made me the Chincoteague pony horse trainer for all of those Chincoteague ponies that were bought. So I'm starting Tara's horse in the fall. She got a Chincoteague pony and took it to Texas. And I guess there's
last year or the year before, I don't remember.
I think it was a baby, so
Yeah,
I mean
a couple
it's
years ago,
4.
yeah.
So yeah, she's sending me this horse to start, and I guess there's Facebook groups of people that have Chincoteague ponies, and now I've got a lineup of Chincoteague ponies that I'm going to start, and I'm like, I just don't get it.
Well,
like
your pony size, that works.
I just tell people, I'm like, listen, I am the one that called and booked this morning. I'm like, they're like, she's like, when can I bring her over? I know it's hot right now, and I was like, well, I'm going to pop your bubble. Because my next training spot is March 15th. Ooh. Oh, that's so far away. Okay, how do I book it? I was like, damn it!
You know what that's called in sales?
How? What?
That's called the negative close. You tell them they can't have something and they want it more.
Man, how do I reverse negative close? How do I positive close?
That was my favorite sales technique when I was in sales. I would get them to the point where they want it, and then I would find a reason that they can't have it, and then they'd want it more, and then I would make a bigger sale because of it.
Oh, man. I just realized I'm just never going to have surgery again. Like, I'm just going to go.
You're not, or you are. I can't. You've changed your mind 100 times. So you're having the surgery or not having the surgery.
I was supposed to have it at the end of July.
Yeah, but soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to. So I can't. I got injections and it feels fine. Everything's fine. So I decided to push it off till January. Well, I've got horses coming in March. I don't have time to have surgery. So I'm thinking I'll get another injection and just stretch it out till summer.
Because the injections only last, a couple months?
I don't know. It hurt like hell. I hope it lasts longer than a couple months.
I don't know. I don't know how long they last.
So Chad gets these little
they're not
shots,
forever, right?
And they're these teeny tiny little needles. And he always complains about having to get these teeny tiny little needle shots. And I went into the doctor and they like set this, basically it looks like a cartoon hypodermic like syringe on the counter. And I was like, what is that? They were like, oh, that's it. And I was like, no way. Like it's bigger than
teeny
horses.
Tiny.
It was not teeny tiny. So I took a picture and sent it to Chad and I was like, suck it up, Buttercup. This is what I have to deal with. But it's basically like joint injections, basically.
Does it hurt like hell? I've never had one.
Oh my God. Oh, she sprays a little cooling spray on it. And it's like a numbing spray. And she tricked me, Glenn, because she sprayed some numbing spray on it and then jammed the needle in at the same time. And I was like, you bitch. And she's like, oh my God. I was like, you lied to me.
She does that to everybody and laughs every time.
Oh my God. So anyway, I feel fine now. And so I've decided to postpone because surgery sucks and I gained like 20 pounds because you're a big turd. So I put it off and I'm just going to put it off again because now I have a string of Chincoteague ponies that are coming to be started and I'm going to need 2 arms. So it'll be fine. So Tara, thank you very much. I appreciate all the business. Please stop giving out my name. So next thing, I posted a video of Taco Tuesday last week and I was just trotting him around the arena. And it was the first time I'd taken him all the way around the whole arena. It's slow is fast with this horse. But now I feel like we've kind of broken through. And he's like, he knows how to go and stop and not feel like he's going to get hurt, and slam on the brakes, think he's going to have his face ripped off. This is a little pony that I got from a cowboy. And anyway, he's doing great. So I post this video and I'm like, hey, I'll just take him up to a little jump. And I jump the jump and he trots over it. He doesn't care. He's like, not bothered. So I post a video online. I'm like, look at Taco Tuesday. Oh my God. I got 1,000 people emailing me wanting to buy him. Like, I was like, what did I do? Like, I trotted a pony over a tiny cross rail. Why does everyone want this pony? And so I got these. So if you remember when I was in Kentucky, the Kentucky 3-day, in April, I met this young lady and her mom, and they listened to the show, and I guess they follow all of
so your pictures with the little one.
Yes, she's so sweet. And so I called her and I was like, hey, you guys said in April, you were like, she was like, Taco Tuesday's going to be mine someday. I want him. And the mom was like, yeah, and I was like, he's not ready. He's not ready. He's not ready. Can't have him. Well, I've got all these people messaging me and he's really coming along nicely. So I called and I was like, hey, are you guys serious about this? Like, did you actually, like, were you joking? They were like, we're totally serious. I was like, so they're flying in at the end of July to come see Taco. I'm so excited.
That means you have 4 more weeks to really tune him up.
Well, yeah. Well, she may even leave him in training. I don't know. But as of now, I just ride him like twice a week. It's not like I do a ton of stuff with him.
I mean, there's no question. I mean, as slow a start as it was, he's progressing pretty good now.
I never posted the first videos. I'm like trying to ride him in the round pen and he would like run across the radius of it, like go across the middle, stop, yank his head in the air. And I tried to get him back out and he would, it was just, I remember Farm Boy watching, he goes, that doesn't look like any fun at all. I'm like, no, it's not fun. Thank you, Captain Obvious. But he's doing really good. And so anyway, they're going to come out at the end of July and meet him.
So exciting for her to come out and see your place too.
I had them send me some videos of her riding, and she has been riding the most angelic school ponies. Ponies that she's riding, I would have given my pinky finger for when I had a lesson barn. They were so great. And I was like, you have to understand, this is not a lesson horse. This is a horse you actually have to ride and steer. And those horses have these little, balanced canners. And I'm like, he doesn't have any of that. So they totally understand and they're ready to make that, because you have to make that transition in your riding career from riding on the horse to riding the horse. And so they're understanding that is a transition. I mean, the good thing is Taco Tuesday's default is stop. So he's got that. So I was like, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll have a lot of fun and you guys can hang out. And if it works out, great. I hope so.
Well, I'm excited for her. That'll be so much fun. She's like 10 or 11, isn't she, or something?
Oh, my God. She's so tiny and cute. Darling.
Hey, guess what? One of our auditors, Erin, posted that she just got her worm flooring put in her trailer.
Yay!
She posted over the weekend, talk about Equestrian first world problems. She said, it pained me deeply to have to soil my virgin worm flooring with shavings.
Oh, my God. It's so hard. When they poop on it the first time, you're like, put that back in.
But you can just wash it off with a hose, right? Clean the shavings out, then spray it down.
It's super easy. So, but it is, I mean, it's hard to see your new shiny floors get dirty.
So then I noticed also that Debbie had worm flooring put in. A bunch of our listeners have done it now, just like you did. And worm flooring is the place to find your trailer floor. And it's kind of a bumpy rubber coating, right? It's kind of how you would describe it.
Yeah, it's like they trowel it in. So it's not like a spray-on thing. I mean, it's a couple inches thick and they trowel it in onto the floor, and then I was concerned that it would go to the wall and the liquid would seep over the edge. No, it goes up your wall just a hair to like kind of give it.
When you do hose it out, you don't have to worry about it at all.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's all. I mean, I wouldn't go back. Any trailer for the rest of my life will have worm flooring in it because it's just such a relief. And I had aluminum floors in my trailer, and I was always concerned because aluminum is going to get eaten by urine. Now I have to take all the mats out every time I ride.
Everybody that knows that's done it has taken mats out of a trailer. It's a nightmare.
God,
getting them back in is a nightmare. It's just a nightmare.
Yeah,
the whole thing is a nightmare. Dealing with mats, period, is a nightmare. But in a trailer where they're cut to size and around posts and stuff, it never goes in the same way twice.
No, and so that's what they call it. Worm flooring, which stands for We Eliminate Rubber Mats. Flooring.com, and they have done it's such a cool product.
And there's tons of dealers around the country. Go to wormflooring.com to find a dealer near you. Now, I had a chance last week to do a Horses in History, which I haven't done one in a while. And this one is a story from the Old West involving a woman that you may have never heard of before, but who has a fascinating story. Let's take a listen. Welcome to Horses in History. You've heard of some of the horsewomen of the Old West, Annie Oakley and Calamity Jane. Well, there are many more you've not heard of, like Charlie Parkhurst, a stagecoach driver whose true identity remained hidden until her death. It's the mid-1800s in the bustling towns of the American West. Stagecoaches are the lifeline connecting isolated communities, braving harrowing terrains and the constant threat of outlaws. Amidst this chaos and excitement, You had the stagecoach drivers, a truly dangerous, difficult job. One name stands out among the best drivers of the day, and that's Charlie Parkhurst. But you see, Charlie was born Charlotte Parkhurst in 1812 in Sharon, Vermont. She was orphaned at a young age. Charlotte was sent to an orphanage, a place she really didn't like at all. She escaped at the age of 12 and made a decision that would affect the rest of her life: to live life disguised as a man. Charlotte became Charlie, embracing her new identity that would open doors closed to women of her time. Charlie soon met Ebenezer Balch, who had a livery stable in Providence, Rhode Island. Treating Charlie like a son, Balch taught her to work as a stable hand and gradually with the horses. She developed an aptitude with horses, and Balch taught her to drive a coach, first with 1, then 4, then eventually 6 horses. Charlie worked for Balch for several years. Charlie, in her late 30s, sailed to California during the gold rush. She became one of the most skilled stagecoach drivers in the West. In those days, before the Panama Canal, you sailed to Panama, then crossed the land to catch another ship to take you to California. On that trip, she met John Morton, who owned a retail business in San Francisco. Morton recruited her to work for him. Shortly after reaching California, Charlie lost the use of one eye from a kick from a horse, leading to her nickname of One Eyed Charley or Cockeyed Charlie. Shortly after that, she went to work as a stagecoach driver. That's right, a woman pretending to be a man with one eye developed a reputation as one of the finest stagecoach drivers in the West Coast. This inspired another nickname, Six Horse Charlie. Stagecoach drivers carried mail as well as passengers and had to deal with hold-up attempts, bad weather, and perilous primitive trails. A historian named Charles Outland described the era. Quote, "It was a dangerous era in a dangerous country where dangerous conditions were the norm." In 1868, she, pretending to be a he, may have been the first female to vote in a presidential election in California. Throughout her career, Charlie maintained her male identity. She kept to herself, avoiding relationships that could reveal her true gender. Amazingly, her secret remained safe throughout her life. Seeing that railroads were cutting into the stagecoach business, Parkhurst retired from driving some years later to Watsonville, California. For 15 years, she worked at farming and lumbering in the winter. Also, she raised chickens. She later moved into a small cabin about 6 miles from Watsonville and suffered from rheumatoid arthritis in her later years. Charlie died there on December 18, 1879, due to tongue cancer. Only then, as undertakers prepared her body, did her true gender get discovered. Charlie Parkhurst, one of the best stagecoach drivers in the West, had been a woman all along. Moreover, it was revealed that she had given birth at some point in her life, adding another layer of mystery to her story. A trunk in the house contained a baby's dress. The discovery became a sensation in the papers at the time, even all the way to the New York Times with an article that was titled, "30 Years in Disguise, a noted Californian stagecoach driver discovered after death to be a woman." Parkhurst has been variously interpreted as either a woman using the persona to be able to work in a man's world, or as a transgender man. Guess it's something we'll never know. Either way, Charlie Parkhurst was more than a stagecoach driver. She, or he, was a true pioneer in every sense of the word. Why hasn't a movie been made about her? Well, something happened that was positive from the United States Equestrian Federation. You heard me right. We don't often say that about the USEF, but you remember the whole Cesar Para horse abuse case that erupted in January?
Was this when,
Wellington.
Is this the guy that punched the horse in the pentathlon? Is this the guy who was roll currying and abusing
This farm
him?
was being, quote unquote, abusive to the horses, and it was a big blow up. There's been several of these, right?
Yes.
Well, the problem was the USEF could never had jurisdiction over anything that happened when you have the horse at home. It only had jurisdiction when you had a horse at a horse show. Right? So as soon as you hit the horse show grounds,
that's the guy that was like whipping the bejesus out of the horse. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now this rule change means that anytime horse abuse occurs, including at home facilities, it clarifies examples of what constitutes horse abuse in the sport, but it gives the USEF power to penalize people if there's proof that they're abusing, like that video was, that they're abusing horses at home. And it also mandates what is abuse. Now, I haven't read all of that. I want to get a guest on who can go through what is abuse and what isn't abuse. But it basically extends the jurisdiction of the USEF. If you are a USEF sanctioned rider, if you compete in USEF competitions, then they have jurisdiction to penalize you for what happens at home.
You know what? You gotta, if you run with the big dogs, you gotta behave, so it's amazing that we're giving a hard time to the USEF. I think they're well above any of the Western sports. I mean, the stuff I see in Western sports that people do to horses, and I'm glad we have the USEF who's trying to.
Well, the USEF is one of the first of the national organizations to do this. So hopefully we'll see the other national organizations follow it. I noticed there was articles in the Swiss news over there, and Germans covered this. So who knows? We might see it there too.
Yeah.
But it also clarified that competition management and officials are empowered to eliminate, disqualify, and issue warnings for horse abuse at competitions. That was always a gray area too, whether they even could.
Yeah.
So they've clarified that now, and it provides an updated description of what constitutes unethical treatment of horses at home, and so I think I want to get somebody on that is going to go through exactly what those are, but rather than me trying to read the 89 pages. So hopefully we'll get somewhat of an expert on to talk about that.
Well, that sounds so fun.
Yeah.
You reading 89 pages of lawyer speak.
You know me. I don't want to do that. All right. Hey, a couple of quick Olympic stories too for you. You know how we talk about pentathletes who have to ride show jumpers, and how that proved to be a kind of a nightmare at the last one, and how a lot of pentathletes don't like the horse thing because they're not horse people and they have
It's
to learn.
literally the most deadly one that they do, and nobody practices.
I got somebody for you to root for this year. She's from Connecticut. Her name is Jess Savner. And Jess Savner was first a horse girl before she went into all the other stuff. She competed as a show jumper and an eventer all the way through, through her years growing up. So she's a horse girl. And then she also got into pole vaulting while in college, one of the sports. She also then became, this is a superwoman, by the way. She also then became a triathlete. And she realized, hey, I do all these things that are in the pentathlon. All I have to do is learn to fence, and then I could actually compete. And she said, she thought, well, look, I'm actually a horse person. I have an advantage there where a lot of them aren't. Mm-hmm. So she started to learn to fence. By the way, it's now her best sport. And she won the national championship in modern pentathlon recently, and she also won the women's national fencing championships. So this is Superwoman here. She is actually upset about him taking horses out, and she said she's going to quit after this Olympics. She's going to be going.
She's losing her advantage.
Yes, exactly. So she's apparently quite the woman who is a super athlete, and she's going to be competing. So it gives us somebody,
Let's
a
get
horse
her
girl.
on.
I
Get her
know.
on.
I tried. I reached out today. We'll see if I get an answer. I don't know when they're heading over to Paris, to France to start training. And she's also on the team now, which means they're not allowed to talk to press unless it's approved and all that crap. So we'll see if I can get her on. If not, we'll get her on after.
Yeah.
I think that would be fun. But it gives you somebody to root for. Her name is Jess Savner. Cool. Now Shane Rose has been in the news a lot late in the last year. He's the eventer out of Australia. And if you remember, he was the one in the mankini video, the one of him just wearing a little tiny mankini while riding.
He rode the Borat special and show jumped in it.
Which a lot of people got offended by, and some were just laughing their asses off, and we were going, well, it isn't Australian. They would do that. And I don't know why they were getting upset in Australia about this. But in any case, he is a serious rider. He's a very good eventer. He has competed. He's had 2 silver medals and 1 bronze medal from Olympics in Beijing in 28, Rio 2016, and Tokyo 2020. Well, if you remember right, about 4 months ago, he had a bad riding accident. And when I mean bad, he suffered multiple left side rib fractures, elbow fractures, a fracture of the femur requiring a rod, and fractures of the front and back of his pelvis and sacrum. That's a lot of fractures. So nobody thought he would be back in time for the Olympics. After the 4 weeks, he was in a wheelchair, and he wasn't even getting out of a wheelchair. Then he was allowed on an exercise bike at 6 weeks and to swim. And he also started intensive rehabilitation with the Australian Institute of Sport. And then in June, he competed in his first competition after the accident at the Melbourne International 3-day event, which is a large event. So he now has a chance to actually ride for Australia. They're going to pick the teams on July 4th, and he's one of the contenders after 4 months of getting all of that broken stuff. Eventers are damn tough, especially Australian eventers.
Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, the fact that they're like, he gets squished by a horse, doesn't even remember the accident happening, and then goes on to like, I don't know if I'm going to compete in the Olympics again. I'd be like, I don't know if I'm ever ride a horse again. I mean, that is crazy. So go Shane, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll see. I hope he makes the team. They're going to, we'll know in a couple days.
Oh my gosh, how stressful. Oh, that's crazy. All right. Well, there's more talk than ever about importance of probiotics in equine health, but not all probiotics are created equal. New Purina Systemic Supplement remains live and active after the pelleting process and throughout the digestive system, making it all the way to the hindgut. Systemic was designed to support normal recovery after exercise and occasional gastrointestinal stress. So whether you're using a probiotic now or not, it's time to use a live and active supplement from a name you trust. New Purina Systemic Probiotic.
Well, next up, we have Jess Bowers. She's the author of a book called Horse Show. And also, apparently, she's originally from York, Pennsylvania, and I was originally from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We were neighbors.
Wow.
So I know all about York. Been to York Fair. Been to the York Fair many times.
Yes, the Great York Interstate Fair. Yeah.
The York Fair is a phenomenon for those that don't know. It is enormous, and they have big name. I saw Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton there once.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They have big name acts that come through. And yeah, lots and lots of livestock shows and produce contests. It's a time. You should go if you haven't.
Now, one of the things I remember, this is in the old days of the York Fair, they had the circus sideshows. And do they still have the creepy sideshows?
I haven't been in a long time, but I really hope they do. Because on the Midway, they'd have all the games, and then they'd have like come see the 3-headed sheep.
Yep,
and,
that's right.
And a lot of them were hoaxes, but it was still fun.
We paid $1 each, my wife and I. We were dating then. We weren't even married then. This is 35 years ago. We paid $1 each to see the world's smallest horse. And you went into this trailer, and it was just a mini. You went into this trailer, but they had a platform where the mini was down like 4 or 5 feet below you.
Yeah.
So it looked really small.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah.
I think I went into that one too.
It was probably a normal-sized mini, but because you were looking down and the way they had the optics, it looked like a tiny little horse. So Jennifer left and went, why'd we pay $1 for that?
Right, yeah, you could just just go down the road.
Kind of ties into what we're talking about today, actually.
It sure does.
Yeah, I didn't mean it to, but it does. So you grew up in York. Were you a horse girl there?
Yes, a big horse girl. I used to go to Fairhill and watch the eventing there, and
Did you ride?
and just sort of. I mean, I didn't ride at Fairhill, but I grew up in York, right? And I rode with Ann and Jack Wagner, who had a English barn that they called the Usenhaus Ranch. Because they didn't like to have any horses that weren't using horses. Right.
It was an English barn? That sounds like a Western barn.
It was an English barn. Well, see, Jack's background was rodeo, and then he would ride ponies at Penn National. He would accompany the racehorses to there. And then Anne was an English sort of hunter jumper, dyed in the wool. And then, and they just came together, and then they had all these horsey kids who could ride really well. And I just started showing up there. And I would just I was just a barn rat.
So, I told you earlier that we've been doing this show for almost 15 years now every day, and we've had 1,000 authors on at least. And we always and this is what we look for now when we have authors on, is when the book's a little different. And your book's a little different because it takes a different approach to a topic. So kind of explain the short story format and what you were trying to accomplish with a book called The Horse Show.
Okay, yeah. Horse Show, my only rule for myself was that each story had to contain a horse, loosely defined, right? There's a couple mules in there, and there's also a mechanical horse. And that each story had to contain a show, whether that's an actual horse show or a movie or a TV series or, a spectacle of some kind. And so I was really interested in writing a book about horses that's for grown-ups, right? That doesn't do the whole kid discovers horse and they achieve
Save
together. I mean, I love, I love that when I was a kid, but, and I wanted to also uncover the stories of some forgotten horses. I think we hear about Seabiscuit, Secretariat, War Admiral. We hear about the greats all the time, but I wanted to, who were the horses who were noteworthy for stranger reasons? And that's kind of how the book came about.
I mean, you have stories. To give people an example, you have Mr. Ed in there. And who else is in there?
Well, Mr. Ed's in there. The John Travolta made-for-TV movie, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble, has a horse in it as a major plot point. That's in there. George Washington, the largest horse who ever lived, or at least according to P.T. Barnum, that was the largest horse that ever lived. Lots of, just little obscure things. Every piece in the collection has a historical basis, and I have a PhD, so I researched the heck out of it. So it's you can learn a lot while being entertained, and at times I think horrified by some of the things that happened.
Well, that's the thing. You didn't sugarcoat these stories. I mean,
no, I did not.
You went into the deep and dirty of some of these horses that weren't treated real well.
Yeah. My take on it is that, just like a good anti-war movie has to contain war, a book that is advocating for better treatment for our equine companions, it had to contain some pretty horrific things. But everything that happened was true and real, including the stunt that led to MPAA regulations about animal action in movies. I've got a story about that in the book too. So I think it's, it's a little harrowing, but if you've been around horses a lot, I think that the reality of it will strike you.
Would people come away from the book feeling like, oh God, we all suck as horse people? Or do they come away, do you take it in a direction where they don't come away feeling that way?
Yeah, I mean, I've had some horse people who've read it have told me that they also felt the love and respect behind the violence, behind the inclusion of it, that the narrators always treat it as horrific. And yeah, so I think for non-horse people, when they read it, they're just sort of surprised by how relevant horses were throughout American history. And then for horse people that read it, those of us who've dealt with a lot of loss or death or, the harder side of horsemanship, I think it really resonates with them. And then I have had a few people who are just like, can you please tell me which stories have a horse dying in it? I want to avoid them. And so I do have a list, roughly half the book, no one dies. So
so you can read half the book?
Yeah.
We get accused all the time. We do this now. We never did. We have to have trigger warnings now when we do a story. You need a trigger warning at the beginning of each of the chapters that they don't need to read.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes at signings I'll like put asterisks behind the ones, like read this when you feel brave.
I want to hear about one of the stories. And this is the one, it's about the Duke University psychologist, okay?
Yeah.
So tell us this story, and it kind of give people a flavor of what we talk about in the book.
Okay, yeah. So this story is called Lady the Mind Reading Mare. And this woman, Claudia Fonda, she lived in Virginia, and she had this mare that was an orphan foal that she raised, and you know how that usually goes. The animal's like weirdly attached in a way that can be a little dangerous. But she decides to teach the horse how to spell using this typewriter xylophone contraption that her husband built. And the horse, she opens this cottage industry telling people's fortunes. And this catches the attention of Duke University psychologist Joseph Rhine, who he runs the parapsychology department.
And this was, I want to clarify, this was back in like the 20s or 1920s or 30s, right?
30s, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And this was real. And he was trying to prove that ESP exists, that people can communicate telepathically. And he goes to see Lady, the mind reading mare, and he is utterly fooled by this woman's I chalk it up to just her rapport with the horse and her training skills, because she basically trained the horse that whenever someone, held their breath or acted excited that she was going to flip the right letter to say the right word, the horse keyed in on that and performed really well. But yeah, this was like, I just thought it was hilarious that a Duke professor and researcher
Did it come out? Tricked? I don't want to give away the end of the story, but you have 12. You have lots of other stories in there. I gotta know. Yeah. Did it come out? Did she finally confess that this was all just made up? How did they find out?
No. I mean, her word, like her sort of party line was, "We've never made any claims." So she was like, "I never claimed that this horse, like this is all just for fun and entertainment." And, at one point they tried to get her to use the horse to solve a murder. And, there were a lot of instances where you could tell, like from the historical record, from everything I read about Claudia Fonda, you could tell she was a little bit like nervous about being found out. But at the same time, it's like she wasn't raking in tremendous amounts of money here.
I was just going to say she can't be making a ton of money.
No. So to her, it was just, like, this is something fun that I'm doing with my horse, and it's making me a little extra cash. And, but
that
they were in Life magazine.
So, they needed the money.
Yeah, they were in Life magazine. They got all sorts of national attention for this. And so she had to kind of keep up the ruse.
That's a problem. You do a little video and then it goes viral. And like the girl who we won't mention what she talked about, that's on the news everywhere now, with her little video. And she didn't plan on, losing her job and everything else because of this little video she did. But that's what it used to happen back then, too. It's just newspapers back then. And magazines.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, freedom of speech isn't always freedom from consequences. So, yeah, she would be in a lot of trouble. I think like mild trouble.
But then once you start down that road and you get, then they write a story. Then you have to stay on the road.
You do. She had to commit to the lie. Yeah,
you have to. You have any choice at that point.
Yeah, and I just loved her enterprising spirit. I love that she wasn't riding this horse, but still had a really strong rapport. That was really intriguing to me. And also just the idea of a woman in the 30s finding a way to monetize her passion. I thought was really, really interesting.
So what was the story that surprised you the most?
Oh, gee. Probably probably One Trick Pony, the story of the stunt that led to animal regulation in Hollywood. And I think I was most surprised by that because it didn't happen until like 1939, which seemed really late to me, even though the history of film begins in the late 19th century. That's still, that's about 50 years in before anyone starts to question. And then also, as I dug into the movie Jesse James from 1939, it's a terrible movie. And I was struck by that. I was struck by, okay, so this animal died in the most heinous way. And like, they were definitely abusive to this animal. And yet the movie's not even any good. And to me, there's just sort of a dark irony in that I wanted to explore. I was also surprised that this all took place at the Lake of the Ozarks, which is really near where I am in St. Louis. So I was just sort of fascinated that they felt the need to film it on location and do all this.
Do you like horror movies?
That was.
You like horror movies, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, I figured. I'm getting that impression.
Yeah, I do.
There's a little dark side to you, Jess.
Yeah, there is. I admit it. But I don't, I think that my favorite type of horror movies, I hate slasher movies.
Yeah.
I'm all about the tension and the
thrillers. Yeah.
Yeah. And I particularly love like 1940s horror. Universal horror or RKO horror. I'm
a little more on the thriller, The Sixth Sense, that kind of.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm not into the slasher either at all, but I am into the thrillers.
Yeah, like just the tension and then like what is going to happen. So yeah, a lot of my stories sort of do a similar thing.
So for all of you Halloween fans out there, this is a book for you.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny too, I think. I mean, people tell me it's funny.
Well, a lot of the reviews were, and I can see this now just talking to you for the little time we've talked, a lot of the reviews I saw on your book were the dark sense of humor you have. And that just kind of goes with the rest of your personality, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. There's just something in the water in York.
Something in York, Pennsylvania. We had a big rivalry growing up. Lancaster and York were big rivals.
Oh, they still do.
Yeah.
Because of the Wars of the Roses and the fact that the cities are named that.
That's right. That's true. I know when we had to play York in football and stuff, it was always just, that was the rivalry. Yeah,
that was a huge deal. Yeah, and that's so hilarious that you're from Lancaster. So you're also familiar with the Amish presence in our hometown area.
I grew up with the Amish. I actually went to high school in New Holland. A lot of people, new listeners won't know this, but I had an insurance business back then and investments, and my office sat in the corner of the parking lot of the New Holland sales stables. It just happened to be that's where our office was. And I wasn't into horses back then. That's before I met my wife. And so, I didn't know what went on over there. All I know is it was loud and it smelled. That's what I knew about the and then the cheese factory is right in the other corner of that parking lot. And that really smelled. So it was a very stinky block there.
Just unpleasant all around.
Yeah.
That's amazing. My riding teachers used to go to New Holland and rescue.
Yeah.
And we actually got some pretty decent riding horses.
Did. My first pony, $90 going to the kill auction. Ended up owning that pony till she was 45, and she's the one that taught me how to drive. So they weren't all half dead. That came out of there.
No, they're not. There's some really good horse flesh that came through there. And it's just, it was, I think that living near New Holland kind of instilled a sense of respect and a sense of sort of, okay, stop discarding these individuals who still have something to offer,
Well, the book is called Horse Show. It's available everywhere, right?
It is. You can go on Amazon. You can go on bookshop.org. You can order it from my press, Santa Fe Writers Project. Pretty much anywhere books are sold from what I've seen when I Google it, which is pretty wild.
And I'll put a link to it in our show notes as well. Also, you're on Instagram? your name?
I am. I'm Bowers Jess, no punctuation on Instagram, and I post pictures of my halflinger Teddy. So if you like looking at a very pretty, very naughty horse, the Instagram's the place to be.
Well, we're not getting your halflinger together with my Hackney pony, because the two would just be a nightmare together.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine? I was just thinking, those two breeds hanging out in the field together. Oh my God.
Oh, the mischief. I'm sure they would remove each other's fly clothing. They'd help each other out in all kinds of horrible ways, I'm sure.
The vet bills would be enormous.
Oh, yes. Because, Teddy lives his life like he doesn't pay, No,
that's the way Hackney Pony is, too. The same way. Jess, thank you for joining us. It's Jess Bowers. The book is called Horse Show.
Cosequin ASU joint and hoof pellets contain quality ingredients to support joint and hoof health and leave out the fillers, molasses, and alfalfa, all while still delivering the taste horses love. The colors of their ingredients shine through for a difference you can see. Visit CosequinEquine.com.
Even under the best circumstances, travel is stressful for horses. We've all been there, stuck on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. You can make the journey knowing that U.S. Rider is there for you. Get peace of mind on the road with U.S. Rider's nationwide 24/7 roadside assistance coverage for both you and your horse. Join today at usrider.org.
It's time for the weekly look at your equestrian first world problems. This ought to be good.
It's good if I got to put on my glasses.
I don't know if I've ever seen you in glasses.
Well,
I don't know if you've ever worn them when we've been together, have you?
Well, no, because it's new. I just in the last couple months have to wear reading glasses, and I save all these on my phone. There's a question, first world problem. It's a real first world problem. It's a real problem. God, getting old sucks. All right. So, and by the way, I always thought it was weird how people wore the glasses on the tip of their nose and looked over you. I get it now.
Now you know why.
Over the glasses, you lower your face because you can't see through the glasses more than 6 inches away. Anyway, it's just first world. That's a real problem. Okay. So these are real problems that our listeners have. And on Sunday, I put a post up on Facebook, on the auditor's Facebook page. And I say, what are your problems? And people, they share because they care. So if you want to participate in this, you have to become an auditor. Glenn, how do they do that?
Just go to horseradionetwork.com. Go down in the middle of the page. You'll see an auditor banner. And for as little as $3 a month, you can play along.
All right. Well, Charlotte did. And Charlotte is our favorite para rider down in Florida. And she is horse shopping. And every week I put up a post hey, what are your problems? And every week hers is, I'm still horse shopping.
Poor Charlotte. It's been horse shopping since I've known her.
I know. I quit reading them because I was she's still horse shopping. But there was a bonus this time because she said, I'm still horse shopping. And then Rosemary underneath made the great comment, all those ads Jamie and Glenn read and you still can't find one? I mean, Charlotte, you're looking for a Grand Prix dressage para-friendly horse. Why can't you find one on Really Bad Ads? Duh.
That was good. That's the line of the day. Which listener was that?
That was Rosemary.
Very good, Rosemary. Well done.
Adrian says, my husband's friends are over for a cookout and they brought all their new girlfriends. So I have to be social with them while the men cook instead of riding my horse on a beautiful day.
Oh, and not one of them's talking about horses.
All of that. I was reading that. I was like, oh, my life as a military wife. You have to go to these functions and events and you have to talk to all these military wives. And you're just I just want to ride.
And you have nothing in common because you do horses. They do all the girly stuff and you have nothing in common.
Okay. Next one comes from Julia. I edited some because hers is a really long problem. Okay. Sorry. But basically the gist is we loaded up the kids to go to a state park about an hour away to hike and play. We get to the park and one of my neighbors calls, your horse is in my yard. I checked the barn cameras and both horses shoved their way through the gate. that I forgot to latch and march their happy self over to my neighbors. Now, I was thinking, oh my God, how could you forget to close a gate? Like, I would never do that. I mean, ever, except for yesterday when Duke got out and when I walked down to the barn and I'm like, oh, hi, Duke, in the front yard of Ginger's house. So I get it.
You forgot to close the gate?
Well, see, here's what happened, Glenn, is he gets to live out in the big pasture. I'm growing hay, but I let him go out there into the big hay
Duke
pasture.
Can't eat. He has no teeth. So
he has no teeth.
Your grass is fine.
It's nice and tall. He can get to it easier. He doesn't eat much. And so he's out by himself and all the other horses are in a different place. And so little did I know that if he just walked about half a mile around to the front, the gate was open. And I mean, he would never do that until I went into my barn and I was like, so I keep this is so weird. I go to Costco and I buy a big box of animal crackers, like cookies, like circus animal crackers.
The ones that taste like dust.
Barn. Yeah. And we call them barn snacks. And Barrett and Farm Boy and I eat animal crackers like all day.
They kind of taste like the vetting, actually, wood dust.
Well, the good news is they are Duke approved because he proceeded to knock it over, break them open, and eat every single one he could get.
No.
So,
well, it probably didn't hurt him.
Duke approved animal crackers.
How do you eat those? He has no teeth.
I know. He gummed them. It was great. Andrea says, I finally got time to play with one of my horses. I bridled her for ground driving, and her bridle is needing to be cleaned so badly. I'm gonna have to clean tack before I ride her next time. Could have cleaned it when you were done, but whatever, it's fine. Shelly says, when you constantly tell your husband to try to save money, then Smart Pack has to go in through a 20% off sale because you had a gift card, and with the sale and free shipping and free sun shirt, it's like it's all free. I get it. However, my husband would never have known that I would have bought anything if they would have delivered on Monday like they said they would. But I received the package yesterday, and of course, they went right to the front door. And guess who brought it down to the barn?
Amazon has started delivering on Sundays now.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting packages on Sundays. She's right about that, which we never got before.
Super fun. Super fun. Nice. Can't get. What is this? I'm like, I didn't buy that. That was somebody mailed it to me. I do that a lot. April.
How many times have I been the culprit, or Jennifer been the culprit of the one that mailed it to you?
Yeah, no, it's happened. It's a thing. Or you give people my address and they mail me things. And Jen's like, what is this?
do that.
Like,
that's not a lie. So yeah.
Yeah, apparently, if you want to know where I live, you just have to message Glenn and he'll give out my address.
I do screen them. I mean, somewhat.
Have you ever said no?
Yes, I have, actually. I've made them go to you if I wasn't sure who they were. If they're an auditor, then I'm pretty, feel pretty good.
They're fine. They're not murderers.
They're paying your salary every month. So
sure, $30 a month is split 9 ways is huge. April says my dad and sister came to visit, and I took my sister to the horse auction for some redneck people watching. Remember, they're in Texas.
Oh. Okay.
But we had to leave before I could bid on the Scottish Highlander cow or the kangaroo.
Oh, I want a Scottish Highlander. I want a Scottish hairy coo. I want a hairy coo.
Harry Q.
They'd do well in Florida, I think.
I know her, and if she was drinking, she would have come home with both.
With the Harry Q?
That's a thing. With the Harry Q and the kangaroo.
I don't know about a kangaroo. That would be tough, I think, to keep in if they want it out.
Oh my God, it's so cute. Carrie says, my custom saddle pad I had made arrived on Friday after I got back from the barn. And then I went to visit family all weekend, so now I have to wait until after work tomorrow to use it, and it's so pretty. I feel like Carrie and I probably sound exactly the same.
Yeah, I think you do,
She types like I speak.
Yeah, you do kind of sound alike.
Teresa says, my horses are somehow both sound right now. But with my work schedule, it's super hard to find time to ride them both, and it's really hard to choose. I have the same problem. It gets too hot. I can't ride Miles and Ace. I'm like, which beautiful gray horse am I going to ride today? I can't decide. So almost done. And I would have saved mine for last, but there's one better than mine. Oh. But I'll tell you mine. I booked a follow-up appointment with the body worker to do a second session with Taco Tuesday. But he's going so well that he doesn't really need it. But it takes 6 weeks to get this appointment, right? So I was like, okay, well, I was like, I'll get her to do somebody else. And so I started going through my horses in my head, and I'm like, nobody else needs it. Everybody else is doing so good. I'm having a body work, and nobody even needs it. My horses are too healthy and happy. Ugh.
Does she do people?
I wish. She's an actual veterinarian osteopath. But
So you can just lay down and get it done.
Could you give me a little massage there? That'd be great. And then Jacqueline posted this one. And she says, I finally started reading Lisa's Cat Enright series.
Oh.
And I don't know whose voice to have in my head, Lisa's or Jamie's. For those who don't know, I did read that on the show, like a chapter a day.
I am shocked that those haven't. She's like with a real publisher. I'm shocked those are not in audiobooks.
I would be more than happy to do that.
To read it?
No, I wouldn't.
Apparently,
actually.
that's really hard work.
I know, it's too hard work. This is as difficult as I get.
They'll make you redo paragraphs 4 or 5 times in different ways, and apparently it's really hard work. And you have to do all the different voices, although you'd be good at that.
Oh, yeah, sure. I do a redneck voice.
Well, Cat Enright is Southern. She's from Tennessee, so you could do that.
I could do that. That's Tennessee's easy.
Yeah, and then all her friends are from Tennessee. Like there's one the real redneck dude there. You could do him. So I mean, you could do the voices.
I always think it's funny when I listen to audiobooks and the guy, it's like a man doing. He's like, "Hey there, lady."
Yeah.
He does a girl's voice. I'm like, no, it just takes me right out of it. Just read the book.
I did listen to one the other day that had 4 or 5 different voices, and it's the first one I've heard on Audible that it was just an ordinary book, right? But there were 4 or 5 different voices for the different characters, and I thought, well, they spent some money on that one.
Like it was 4 or 5 different people.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah, it changed the book entirely, to be honest. It was much better.
That's cool.
I mean, there's good readers. Audible, I don't know about you, but I don't know how many books you listen to. But they give you the little sample. I always listen to the reader first, and if I go, I can't do that one. I just don't get the book.
Yeah. You got to pick and choose for sure. It's like listening to podcasts for me. I just listen to 5 seconds. I'm like, nope, can't listen to that person. And
you realize that means they give us 5 seconds too, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we always say, give us a week. You know? No, I'm not giving anybody a week. Sorry. If you don't love me when you meet me, you're probably not going to love me.
All right, let's wrap this show up. We're going to do an auditor post show for all of you, and for all of you. For the auditors, we'll do an auditor post show. As we said earlier, if you want to become an auditor and get the post show too, you can become an auditor by going to horseradionetwork.com, scrolling down to the middle of the page, and you too can join the fun in the post show. Post show is where it's not safe for work and a little unedited.
No, it's not safe for work and it's unedited, but we're not going to give you much today. But I will tell you that there's only 1 spot left for my intro clinic in October. Only 1. I'm so excited. Like two listeners, and then some guy from Oklahoma City who has racehorses is going to come take the clinic. Yeah,
that's
and so
cool.
I know, October 7th through the 18th here at my house, and just message me for details about it. But it's basically the introductory module, and it's just really, really fun horse training, join up, long lining, trailer loading, all the whatever you guys want to do, we kind of get done. So I only allow 4 people in the clinic. So there's a whole lot of extra time to do extra horse training stuff. We go on trail rides. It's really, really fun. So if anybody's interested, just send me a message, Jamie@horseradionetwork.com, or on Facebook.
Very good. Tomorrow is the American Horse Council, and then Thursday is Mary Kitzmiller and Jennifer with you. And they actually recorded that this morning, and I heard Mary's done very well with her horse competition this year, and they're going to talk about what kind of training she did to get him to that point. So that, and I answer a couple of listener questions as well, and then Jamie and I will be back Wednesday and Friday. Don't forget to get your weird news over to Jamie@horseradionetwork.com if you have any weird news for Wednesday. That's it. See you in the post show, auditors.
All right, Spade Neuter Guild.